In this video, we're going to reveal 5 secret changes Blizzard made to Diablo 4 that they didn't tell anyone about. Number 1, opal cost of gloves and boots increased from 25 opals to 40 opals. That's right, almost a 50% increase in the cost of gloves and boots. Now, this changes everything in terms of gambling strategies, but that wasn't the only item that they changed the price on. The opal cost of rings have also been increased from 40 to 60. This is huge, and this means that gambling priority for items has shifted for searching for different types of legendary aspects. For example, gloves are no longer the best item to gamble for offensive legendary aspects. Instead, you're going to want to gamble for offhands because they have a 100% chance to be an offensive aspect. And out of all the items that can have an offensive aspect, they are the cheapest. So it's the perfect item for it. And we need to be buying the cheapest item we can because the chances of getting a legendary is really, really low. And the cost change to boots and gloves also makes them no longer the best option for gambling a utility aspect. Instead, you'll want to purchase chest items, which are the new best option for finding utility aspects. And with the price increase to ring, you actually have the exact same odds of finding a resource legendary aspect from a ring versus a helm, because helms have 3 total aspects while rings have 2 possible, but they are more expensive. So I tip my hat to the Diablo 4 team for rebalancing opal costs for equal probability. You know, math is hard, and I think they did a really good job evening it out. So here's a little list right here on your screen of the best items to gamble for each legendary aspect. There's a little tip for you. It's going to help a lot since legendaries are so hard to find, and this is going to help you basically, let's say, you know, you're looking for a certain legendary aspect, you can hopefully use your opals to get a better chance at getting it. So if you guys enjoyed that tip, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe for more Diablo 4 content. All right, let's move on to number 2. Now, gems in Diablo 4 got mostly nerfed. There is one exception to that rule. The diamond, when placed into a weapon, it actually gives almost double the amount of increased ultimate damage than before. Maybe it's worth trying out if you can lower the cooldown of your ultimate with certain builds. Getting a diamond in your weapon could totally be worth it. I'm thinking perhaps druid because they have the spirit boon. Necromancer, if you go bone, you can reduce your ultimate skill as well. Potentially, and you'll have to do your calculations, but perhaps you do want to put a diamond in your weapon to increase your ultimate damage. That is the only buff. Now, there are several nerfs to all of the other gems. The one consistent affix, you could say, that did not get nerfed is the resistances. Shadow resist, resist all, poison, fire, cold, lightning. Those all remain the same, but almost every single gem did in fact get a nerf. And I'm going to go through those nerfs very quickly. First of all, the damage taken over time reduction of the amethyst was nerfed. The barrier generation of the diamond was nerfed. This is if you put it into your armor, right? These are both armor slots, and it was basically every single armor slot was nerfed, and there were some other slots that also got nerfed to a lesser extent. Emeralds now give less thorns when you put them in the armor. Ruby, and this is a bummer because this is, this was my plan for every single character. The bonus 2% life in the ruby was actually nerfed. It was very strong before. You could get it up to 6%. Now it's down to 3. They cut that in half, which is, they got you good. It's a very powerful nerf. So who knows? Maybe that's not as good anymore. So you can't increase your max life as much anymore. The sapphire, when put in the armor slot, percent damage reduction while fortified, that was nerfed severely. Went from 4% at crude to 1%. That's a huge nerf. It's one fourth of what it used to be. So that's a massive nerf to fortify if you were going to get a sapphire. And then the topaz actually had basic skill damage nerfed. I actually felt this during the beta. I love just kind of messing around, throwing those in because it used to be strong. Now it's much weaker. You don't get as much basic skill damage bonus with the topaz in the weapon. And then the percent damage reduction while control impaired. So let's say you get CC'd, you can reduce the damage you take while CC'd with a topaz in the armor slot. That was nerfed. That the base level, the crude is the same, but as you upgrade it, it does not give you as much. Then finally with the skull, the life on kill that if you put into a weapon got severely nerfed. It's down to 1/3 of what it used to give, so that's a massive nerf. And then skulls were nerfed all around, every single one of them. No matter what slot you put, the skull got nerfed. The increased healing received was nerfed as well on the skull, and then the jewelry, you would get armor, and that armor is reduced as well. And so all around, the skull got completely slammed. Every single one of its potential bonuses was reduced. So So those are the nerfs that happened to the gems. And then don't forget the ultimate damage with diamond and weapon actually got buffed, the one exception to the rule. All right, moving on to number 3, the third hidden change to Diablo 4 that we discovered during the Server Slam weekend is that you can no longer reduce the level requirement of items. You can apply a legendary aspect to an item, and you could reduce its level requirement back in the open beta, but you can no longer do that. And this was sort of a bug/exploit type of thing. I don't think it was intended to be this way. So they basically fixed it. And so you can't lower the level requirement of items anymore in Diablo 4 through that method. All right, moving on to number 4, we learned from a Diablo 4 developer that Oscar Reed, the level 35 mob that was everyone's favorite, won't be dropping loot other than his special rare mace anymore, plus gold and crafting materials. The developers continued by saying that those special rare monsters having a regular loot table was not intentional, so that very popular farming spot is now dead for the foreseeable future. This was also something that was very exploited. Characters could basically die to Oscar Reed and then just not resurrect, go AFK, and then come back in a few minutes, and Oscar Reed would have respawned, players would have killed him again, and there would just be a ton of loot waiting for them to just basically come back to. And so I think it's a good thing that they fixed this, because that means players won't do that anymore, since he only has a very specific loot table to get that rare mace and nothing else. And so it won't be as valuable to do something like that. And people aren't going to be farming it like crazy like they did in the past beta. Okay, moving on to tip number 5. Now guys, I don't know if you checked this out, but loot from the corpses that you could flip over to check for items in Khor Dragon had an absolutely insanely high legendary drop rate. I went up to Khor Dragon and I was getting roughly 1 legendary per run through. You just run through there, avoid the mobs, don't even worry about clearing the infestation there. Just start flipping over the corpses and you actually can find legendaries extremely easily. Now I got 1 legendary per run through. I did 2 runs and got 2 legendaries, and I just couldn't believe it. Now there's no guarantee that you can use these legendaries, because I in fact did find a legendary that I could not use, and so it was kind of useless, because even if you try to extract a legendary aspect from an item that is unusable, that legendary aspect itself will have the item level requirement of that item as well. So they share that same item level requirement, making it unusable. But it was an absolutely insane drop chance. I did find another one I could use, but I am assuming that this will probably be fixed for the live release. I don't imagine they want players to just never capture Khor Dragon and to just farm these corpses, but no mention from Blizzard yet whether or not that was intentional, no mention whether or not it's going to be fixed. I'm assuming it will be fixed, but this is just something that how it was in the Server Slam. Maybe it won't get fixed, and it's something that players are just going to have to do, kind of like with the Andariel bug, right? Like you want the first kill of a monster, right? And then every other kill is much worse drop chances, right? Well, maybe, if you just never capture Khor Dragon, it'll be another farm spot. And maybe that's just a little bit of nuance that Blizzard wants to add to their game to get a little bit more depth. Who knows for sure, but that was just something I thought I would share. That definitely was not during the open beta where you could get that crazy high chance as before. All right, well, those are the 5 secret changes that we discovered during the Server Slam weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed. And again, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe for more. And if you enjoyed this video, you might like this video shown on your screen. I'll see you there.